Did you kill Robin and Lisa?
Absolutely not.
Do you feel any remorse for the whole situation?
Absolutely not. I have nothing to feel remorseful for.
So are you nervous heading off to death row this week?
No, absolutely not. I'm looking forward to it.
And our Samantha Serbin continues to investigate this case and bring us the very latest developments. She joins us live this evening with some new details. And Samantha, so tell us more about what you found out today.
Barbara, from the very beginning, Sheriff Donna Tompkins has said she and her staff had no idea of the risk 19-year-old Javon Hatchett posed to his cellmate. Today, I got the documents to prove what she says has some validity, even though some questions remain. Peter, Amber Tremblay is no stranger to law enforcement. Since 2008, she's posed for a mugshot 18 times, 5 times in 2009 alone. This time, she may not be getting out so fast.
This orange permit, the final piece of the puzzle, coming more than a year and a half after she started trying to get her lanai fixed. Kim Hickey, conned by a man who said he'd fix her storm-damaged backyard, but never showed up to work. According to the arrest report, Kiara Morant was staying in these apartments with a family friend. The victim says she stole his keys right out of his bedroom, started the car, and drove down the road right into the daycare less than a half-mile away.
Ma'am, just please get a police officer here. My nephew showed up at my house. He's scratched up and beat all up. And my son them just went to his house, and they said that everybody in the house is dead.
Going left. Oh my. Dispatch. This start EMS 1018 for 3 individuals. We're backing out.
July 18th, 2019 was a day some people will never forget. It's the day Trevane Brandon Jackson says he stabbed his girlfriend, Jerica Spellman, and 3 young children, King, Christian, and Kensley, to death.
I did it, okay? I killed all of them. I did it. I did it. I killed them all. I wasn't thinking clearly it was myself, but not going on through my head. I did. I did. I did. Just didn't want nobody to have my kids.
In the coming weeks, I'll bring you an in-depth look and take you back to the day this all happened, letting you take an inside look into what led up to these murders and what happened in the hours and days after. We also plan to speak with both families in this case and talk to domestic violence experts about the signs you should watch out for to prevent something like this from ever happening again. From WTVM News Leader 9, I'm Samantha Serbin.
This is about helping people and helping people have more quality of life, be able to be active participants in their own life and have the basic things that all of us want and take for granted.
But Florida ranks 49th in the nation when it comes to caring for people with mental illness, according to a recent study. The Commission on Mental Health and Substance Abuse is supposed to examine state services and make improvements.
The Charlotte County Sheriff was appointed to lead the group. NBC2's Samantha Serbin has been digging into this report and the recommendations.
I should be dead 20 times over. I've had guns put to my head, knives held to my throat. I've fallen 20 feet out of trees and bounced up like a squirrel with no issues.
Jonathan Haying has the courage and the faith to share what most wouldn't let leave their lips.
Did a lot of drugs to kind of anesthetize myself from the pain and the guilt and the shame associated with making a lot of poor choices.
For decades, he sold drugs, was in and out of jail, self-medicated, until one day he decided to get help.
That's where these reports come in. This one is from January, where a group of 19 people analyzed our mental health and substance abuse system, focusing on things like access to care, jail diversion, and follow-ups. It's strikingly similar to this report, released over 20 years ago, a fact that made the chairman of the new board question our state leaders.
Realistically, you know, it doesn't look like there's been much changes from one report to the next.
No, and you know, that was one of the frustrating things when I was first appointed to the commission.
Charlotte County Sheriff Bill Promell is extremely passionate about mental health and keeping our community safe, emotionally and physically.
When I just addressed the legislator earlier this year, I kind of told him that same thing, that I was very discouraged in what I found, and that I hope that they don't kick it down the road like other legislatures have.
Among the new board's recommendations, sharing data between departments, diverting mental health cases from the jails, and emphasizing follow-ups and check-ins.
Nobody knows that that person had communication over here, they're being treated over there, or they went through this. There's also no follow-up if that person decides suddenly that, no, I don't want it anymore. Just like the shooter at Marjorie Stoneman, when he turned 18, he had the option of not going because he was in intense treatment when he was a juvenile. But once he turned 18, he decided he didn't want it anymore. And there was no follow-up and nobody did anything.
That's just one example. When people meet licensed mental health counselor Amy Hood, it's often too late.
One of the biggest pieces to do that is to try and get more in front of the issues. Right?
She says what's needed is continued care, something more preventative in nature than reactionary treatment.
Those types of things are not currently available or funded in any way in the mental health and substance use world.
The David Lawrence Center in Naples says the state Senate is investing $34 million this year into the system aimed at increasing access to crisis services. In 2021, more than $750 million went out, but that doesn't mean it was all spent.
Like this $61 million that was
returned?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The influx of cash may help the system Dr. David Shern tried to better 2 decades ago. He chaired the Mental Health and Substance Abuse Commission put together by then-Governor Jeb Bush.
And I think that we really do need an infusion of new resources as well when we're so fundamentally underfunded.
Dr. Shern says over the course of his 40 years in this field, there's been an epidemic of mental problems facing our state, especially in kids and teens. As the tone around mental health changes, Shern hopes state leaders will take newer recommendations more seriously.
I have never, in that amount of time, seen mental health so prominently featured in terms of the public conversation.
Because at the end of the day, improving the system will not only help patients like Jonathan.
It's a godsend. It's really, truly a blessing that resources like this exist for people like myself and anybody else out there that might need them, you know.
It keeps you and your family in a better, safer, more productive community, too.
This is about helping people and helping people have more quality of life, be able to be active participants in their own life and have the basic things that all of us want and take for granted.
Change takes time, but the first order of business is making sure the commission led by Sheriff Promell can continue their work.
Our commission is actually set to sunset on September 1st of this year. So if we don't get the legislation passed that's going through that extends our life for at least till 27, we're kind of dead in the water.
Reporting for NBC2, I'm Samantha Serbin.
It's almost like I got to live 2 different lives, right? I get to live a life of misery and despair, and now I get to live a life of happiness and joy.
Dustin Cheatwood is happily married, a homeowner, and a cat dad. But that wasn't always the case.
At the age of 11, though, I started to experiment with drugs and alcohol, and it slowly progressed to where it led me homeless in 2015 for 2 years.
He lived in these Ohio woods, trying to escape his trauma and loss the only way he knew how.
More alcohol and more drugs.
His drugs of choice? Mostly methamphetamines and opiates. Cheatwood says the one time he dabbled into fentanyl, it nearly took his life.
I mixed it with Xanax, and that's a deadly combination. I remember like, oh, let me try this. I'll try this one time and see what it does. But then after that was all a blur. And I remember my dad telling me days later when I was starting to regain some consciousness and clarity that he was like, hey, you know, we were really scared. We thought we were going to lose you.
DEA Administrator Ann Milgram says, quote, fentanyl is the single deadliest drug threat our nation has ever encountered. Fentanyl is everywhere, from large metropolitan areas to rural America. No community is safe from this poison.
In Florida, in the past, and to some extent now too, has been a national leader in overdose deaths.
Dr. Russell Vega is the medical examiner in Charlotte County.
I think it's important to note that a lot of the deaths that we see have multiple drugs involved. It's fentanyl with methamphetamine, with cocaine, with alprazolam.
Fatal overdoses have surpassed the number of traffic deaths in recent years. The National Institute on Drug Abuse published this graph to give you an idea of what drugs are causing a majority of fatal overdoses. As you can see, synthetic opiates like fentanyl skyrocketed starting in 2015. 7,769 people died from an overdose in Florida in 2022. 325 in Lake County, 127 in Collier, and 51 in Charlotte, according to the Florida Department of Health.
Hopefully, we're past the crest of this big wave of fentanyl-related deaths.
A small number of those deaths represented on this memorial wall at the Campbell Lodge, a homeless shelter in Naples. People who succumbed to their addiction. People Rachel Fraterelli knew and worked with.
This is a life or death. A lot of these names I have saw the day before, the week before, and they were dead the next day, and you get that call and it's heartbreaking. It's definitely heartbreaking.
The sobering reality is her name could have been here too.
I was trying to mask up. At the age of 9, my father got murdered in front of us 6 days before Christmas. My mom quickly remarried where her husband sexually abused me and my twin sister for 3 years.
St. Matthew's House Intake Department, this is Rachel.
5 years clean and sober now, and an intake supervisor at St. Matthew's House Campbell Lodge. Fraterelli uses her past to inspire others' future.
I found St. Matthew's House when I ended up in jail for the 3rd time. I was hopeless, helpless, didn't know where to go or where to reach out for help. And Holmes County Jail works with St. Matthew's House, and they offered me to come down to a 12-month recovery program, 8 hours away from home.
Here she found success and a new life. From the depths of addiction to helping others, the 44-year-old herself never overdosed, but that doesn't mean she hasn't felt the impacts firsthand.
We've had it here in the shelter. We've had it over at the bus stop. We've had it where we had to Narcan people in our showers.
For those still struggling, there is help out there. There is a future and success waiting. You could see it firsthand in these two people who may not have survived had others not had faith in their future.
I have a judge in Jackson, Ohio that actually coordinates with St. Matthew's House and sends people down here for recovery, and I got blessed because he saw a life in me that was worth saving when I couldn't see it.
Dustin is coming up on 7 years sober, reestablished a relationship with his kids, and now is a case manager for St. Matthew's House, helping others out of the hole he once knew his home.
Step out your comfort zone. Don't let the fear and the lies tell you that you don't matter and that you're not worth saving, because you are. Just ask for help.
Reporting for NBC2, I'm Samantha Serbin.
NBC2 Samantha Serbin is investigating what may cause paxlovid mouth.
3 little pills packaged neatly for 10 doses. This is what paxlovid looks like. It's supposed to reduce COVID symptoms for those vulnerable to hospitalization. But within minutes, something else takes over.
As soon as I took it, maybe 15 minutes later, I was like, oh, it's really metallic tasting.
A side effect, dysgeusia, aka paxlovid mouth.
It's like in the back of your mouth, no matter what you drink, no matter what you eat, it's metallic. I thought, well, maybe if I drink like some hot tea, maybe like the heat, no, that didn't do anything. We even ordered like Indian food, thinking like the strong flavors, maybe. No, nothing would take any of that metallic taste.
India Palencia and her husband aren't part of a small group to get this metal mouth taste. Clinical trials showed at least 5% of patients on Paxlovid experienced this. The medical director at FGCU Student Health Services, Dr. Todd Winslow, says the number is probably higher than that.
People describe it differently, but it can occur even with the first dose. As you progress into the pack, it may get a little worse, but it tends to plateau out.
So what causes it?
They're not entirely sure, but it's definitely well documented. It isn't associated with anything in particular as far as underlying conditions or anything like that. Isn't associated with severity of disease that we know of. But it just affects some people more than others. And whenever it does occur, it's unpleasant, to say the least.
Dr. Winslow says some literature suggests taking a zinc supplement or using mints to distract from the taste, but he says you really should finish the pack if prescribed. For Palencia, nothing worked.
I'd wake up in the morning and just be like chugging water, and it's still like coffee wouldn't do anything, like nothing.
For her family, getting healthy again was worth the week-long bout with metal mouth.
Was it irritating? Definitely, absolutely. But it was worth it because we really needed to be back on our feet. We just have busy lives and we can't can't afford to not be available.
Reporting in Lee County, Samantha Serbin, NBC2.
An estimated 37 people die from drunk driving related crashes every day in our country. That's one person every 39 minutes. Here in Florida, there were 233 impaired driving crashes last year. 188 people died, another 186 were hurt. So, what are police doing to get impaired drivers off our streets?
NBC2 Samantha Serbin is riding along with Cape Coral Police as they target potential killers.
First one. In the cover of the night, Sergeant Jeff Barkley is on the hunt.
Good evening. Sergeant Barkley with the Cape Coral Police Department. Were you aware what the speed limit was?
With eyes like a hawk, he's pulling people over.
Tango 203, simple.
Looking for something more sinister than speed.
Please slow down, okay? All right.
It doesn't take long in southeast Cape Coral to find what he's looking for.
Update location is going to be Del Prado and Southeast 40th Street. Good evening.
Yes, sir.
Inside this truck, Barkley believes driver Jeremy Holloway is drunk.
My ID and my license, I've lost it.
Okay.
But we did stop at that stop sign.
Okay. Bloodshot eyes, blur to his speech, odor as well. I can smell.
With ice and booze tossed on the back floor, Holloway knows what's coming next.
I have placed you under arrest for DUI. Okay.
DUI?
Yep. So, would you be willing to take a breath test for the purpose of determining its alcohol content?
What part of my driving did you feel like was impaired?
I am now requesting you submit to a lawful test of your breath for the purpose of determining its alcohol content.
Off to jail he goes, refusing both field sobriety tests and a breathalyzer.
It does feel good to take an impaired driver off the road. I can't deny there is a little bit of satisfaction knowing that you took that person off the road.
Tonight isn't Sergeant Barkley's normally scheduled shift.
Not safe to operate.
He volunteered for this DUI operation.
I did the traffic homicide for 5 years.
Hoping to avoid a tragedy, one he's seen too many times.
You know, I've had them where they're literally quadriplegic, so just paralyzed from the neck down. To me, that's worse than fatal. I'd rather be fatal.
But this detail,
if I can catch it,
doesn't slow down. This time, backing up another officer.
Just going to request that you submit to the standard field sobriety exercises to dispel my fear that you're driving under the influence.
But this is insane. This is crazy. So, arrest me, throw me to the ground, whatever I'm doing. But this is insane.
I'm not going to throw you to the ground.
Thomas Slaughter spotted speeding.
In other words, in a million years, I never thought I'd see this. I do not know what's happening.
Okay. You smell like alcohol. I can smell it in your breath. Your eyes are watery, almost bloodshot now. Okay? You're slurring your words. So I'm going to give you an option. Either participate in the DUI investigation or go to jail.
Again, given the same option as everyone, prove sobriety.
Well, then do me a favor.
My night's over.
Turn around. Turn around for me. Put your hands behind your back.
Slaughter says sayonara.
All right, so as we stated, at this time, we are placing you under arrest for driving under the influence.
Just since January, Cape Coral police have arrested more than 30 people suspected of driving under the influence.
You're doing this pretty often.
Oh, every night. Absolutely.
Taking their driving privilege, their chances of hurting innocent people and their car away.
So if she didn't get him off the road, what could have happened with this guy, based off the little that you did see?
Any number of things. He could have caused a crash. He could have seriously injured somebody or himself. That's why we're out here doing this.
No, thank you.
All right.
I'm local in southeast Cape Coral. Samantha Serbin.
Don't drive impaired. Get an Uber. Get another ride. Get a taxi. Anything else. Walk.
NBC2.
Jeremy Holloway and Thomas Slaughter are both charged with DUI. This was Slaughter's second DUI charge.
Today.
Samantha, you spent months looking through records and police video. Tell us more about what you've learned.
Barbara, police and community members alike know the quadruple murder of Jerica Spellman and her 3 young children, King, Christian, and Kensley, is one of the most horrendous things to ever happen here. Diving through hundreds of documents, the answers to many questions become a little more clear. Jerica Spellman and Trevain Brandon Jackson spent 5 years together before a stabbing spree killed Jerica and their 3 children and sent Brandon to jail. Family members say there was an ongoing custody dispute for the children. 3-year-old King, 1-year-old Kensley, and 1-month-old Christian, causing issues within their Elizabeth Canty apartment home. Records show both mom and dad had to attend hands-off classes for documented assaults against each other. Family members say Spellman wanted to take the girls and move to her hometown of Jessup, Georgia. July 17, 2019, Jackson sent this text message to a group chat of family members saying, quote, "I love y'all." This text coming across around the time police say the murders happened.
Ma'am, just please get a police officer here. My nephew showed up at my house. He scratched up and beat all up. And my son them just went to his house and they said that everybody in the house is dead.
Recorded interviews and written reports indicate Jackson spoke with homicide detectives on several occasions without an attorney. He tells lead detective Matt Sittler Spellman started the fight that Wednesday afternoon, saying she grabbed 2 knives from the kitchen. During a recorded confession, Jackson explains after stabbing Spellman, he looked at the kids, told them he loved them, and killed them all because he knew their mother was dying and he was heading for jail.
I did it, okay? I killed all of them. I did it. I killed them all. I wasn't thinking clearly, it was myself blacked out. Not going on through my head. I did it. Just didn't want nobody to have my kids.
Detectives worked night and day preparing a case to present to a jury, but according to case reports, there would never be a trial. Jackson told detectives he wanted to make a plea deal to expedite the case, meaning he would plead guilty to spare family the turmoil of a trial. But less than 6 months later,
they did go in and found Mr. Jackson hanging.
Officials say Jackson died by suicide December 30th, 2019, ending the investigation. Before his death, Jackson told detectives if he could do July 17th, 2019 all over again, he would have walked away the moment the argument began. Unfortunately, it's too late to undo what's already been done. Barbara, hopefully 1 year later, these families are finding some peace in knowing some of the reasons behind their terrible losses.
Oh, Samantha, that video is just chilling. I know we've reported several times there were concerns from family members that Jackson might commit suicide in jail, right?
Yeah, that's right. Jackson told police he tried to commit suicide at least 3 times in the past. Once when his father died in 2014 and twice the day of the murders. Muskogee County Sheriff Donna Tompkins says Jackson was on suicide watch initially when he came into the jail, taken off just a week later.
Yeah, it's just heartbreaking all the way around. Samantha, thank you so much for the update.